We're recording.
Hello and welcome. We are so fortunate to have with us two great panelists today. I have to say we're supposed to be outdoors at Lectern, but thanks to the weather gods we had to improvise and now we are here in these magnificent locations, but we still want to touch upon the same topics as we were intending to do, and that has to do with digitalization in maritime. How are we actually doing? I'm An-Magritt Ryst. I'm a digital product portfolio manager at DNV, and today I have with me two great panelists. First, you, Astrid Hvattum from Sopra Steria. You are business development manager for industry and also maritime. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
And you, Martin Wold. You're ex-DNV, but now you are business development manager for the newly started company Ofiniti, which I would love to hear more about.
Of course.
So let's get started, shall we? All right, so Norway once led maritime digitalization, so how did we end up lagging behind? And more importantly, how do we catch up? And how does all of this affect the life of the seafarers? So you guys, what do you think? I'd like to start with, where is maritime compared to other industries? Let's set a benchmark. Astrid, would you like to start with that?
Yes, thanks. I would first say thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here. I think what we saw when we did the Open Innovation Report in Europe with 1,600 companies, the industries don't differ that much, but we lag behind.
Which other industries did you look at?
Basically everyone. It was both public and private sectors, which maritime and industries, of course, is a part of. And what we saw is that Norway, unfortunately, are lagging behind in the back end of Europe. And when we're talking about open innovation in particular, it's about being open and talking and getting academia, getting other people and other companies to get their ideas and get help and get new inspiration. We don't do it. And we do it the least in Europe.
Really?
As we could see. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting to learn, because we kind of pride ourselves of being at the forefront with research and development and piloting, not to mention it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really the case then.
No, I think we're good at piloting. And that's part of the problem. We're better in piloting than taking this as a part of our culture and in the boardroom and in the strategic decisions and getting it out in life. So the proof of concepting, having the innovation departments really good at it, not that much in actually creating new business and creating value for actually expanding our businesses for the future.
All right. So who's best then, if we are kind of falling behind? Who could we look to?
I think the best examples, I can only use examples because it's not one business that's a lot better than any other, especially. But what we saw is that, for instance, a couple of the finance companies that actually have made this as a part of their structural development. So they have in their strategic agenda how to utilize innovative small businesses, businesses that is fast, businesses that actually can adapt new technology and come up with ideas they couldn't do it themselves. So I have actually on the Industry Week in Porsgrunn this week, Hvattum told about an example that is actually quite representative, where they collaborated with Kongsberg and a lot of different kind of businesses, trying to find a solution for growth on ships, how they can use technology, how they can use extremely complicated issues combined with robotics, combined with sensors to create a product to actually help increase the fuel efficiency with up to 20%. And that's innovation, but you can't do it alone. You can't only look inwards. You need to look outside.
And I think that's a really good passage to you, Martin, because you started with an idea, and I'd like you to tell a little bit of background story, what it is and where it comes from. But also, you're not only in Norway any longer. You've already expanded. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey you've had with your ideas and the Ofiniti company?
Yeah, sure. So we started in DNV 5-6 years ago with an idea to digitalize bunkering operations, which was today, or back then and still now, primarily happening with pen, paper, rope and bucket when transferring documents between ships, and that is a document-heavy process. So you can imagine that this is sort of the exemplification of the opposite of digitalization, I would say. But absolutely necessary way of transferring documents between two vessels. So this was the opportunity that we saw, that this was an outdated process that had ample opportunities to be improved. And then DNV was at the time setting up their own innovation framework to test ideas, and we got to learn and get mentors. We even had colleagues from Sopra Steria to help guide us. And as we tested and proved our hypothesis, we were then able to actually build a solid platform that is starting operation in 1st of January 2021, supporting paper-free bunkering operations. And now we support those type of operations across 4 continents, with some 80 barges having gotten rid of paperwork, basically.
So how has that digitalization, because it's not just digitalization for its purpose, it's actually the entire process has been digitalized, going from pen and paper to purely meeting everyone in one platform.
Yeah.
How has that been received by the end user?
Yeah, so I think that's maybe where we have been fortunate to be trying to digitalize a very specific work process. And this is now carried out by seafarers, crew on board vessels, typically the chief engineers. I mean, they're not on vessels because they are so passionate about filling out papers. They are practical people, and I think what was so fortunate for us was that they immediately sensed that this could help their workday and just get rid of that administrational tasks and let them focus on safety and the task at hand. And I mean, that's when you have that type of support on the vessels, then it's much more comfortable to go and present this to the people on board or on shore, who are ultimately the decision makers for such investment.
Oh, that's a really good point. And you actually already expanded your company from Norway based to having employees in Singapore.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, and how's that working out for you?
Yeah, no, so we spun out of DNV. That was sort of the ultimate step of the innovation cycle in DNV. Are you sort of a company to be homegrown and stay inside, or is it a company that is best suited to grow on its own feet? And that was the latter for us. So we spun out in September last year with the support of a venture capital fund in Singapore. It was very well timed. With one month later came in a requirement for EBDN, which is basically the product that we offer, electronic bunker delivery notes, mandatory in Singapore from 1st of April this year. So then it made sense to put our focus to Singapore. We acquired a competition there and also hired people on the ground. So now we have offices in Singapore, Denmark and Norway. And I think still this niche of the industry, the bunkering space, that's 2,500 bunker vessels, probably been one of the, not leading the pack in terms of digitalization, if you already say that maritime in general is lagging.
It's really good to see that you're so close to the end users and incorporating their thinking and how they work naturally into your processes, because I don't think it's always like that, sitting as an engineer and trying to think of new smart ideas. So I would like to go back to you, Astrid. So, as you said, we are kind of lagging a little bit behind. The world is rushing past. You have good experiences from other parts of the world. Here in the Nordics, are we too afraid to ask for help, or what's kind of hindering us in taking this from just a pilot to a more commercial aspect?
I think it's a variety of different reasons, but I think over the years we have specialized in going into sectors, going into silos and being efficient in silos. And we are building budgets in the silo. We are just creating tight shipments through how we are working together. So rather than seeing that this is a problem or a solution that's across the company or across the vessel or across the different users, we create and handle the problem where it is. So when we're talking about digitalization and the possibilities, we often start with it as a cost, solving a problem where it's needed to be handled, where the responsibility is, not putting it up in the helicopter and looking at the whole view at the company and finding out who needs this, where is the value, how can we have a return on investment if we're going to do this well. So I think we stop ourselves because we are looking at it too internally, rather than seeing what's the potential, what's the problem, what can we do with this, and asking for help.
I can definitely echo that. I think sometimes the biggest potential is actually in streamlining the communication and the exchange of data between the silos, and you completely miss that if you have that introvert perspective. Yeah,
and I think you can look at what kind of company you're from DNV and your experiences as well, and I have learned, of course, that it's easier to come from the outside and give an objective view on what you see, rather than you internally criticize and say that you think something needs to change. So I think that everybody's thinking that we need to have the competence, we want to hire the competence, and we know that we don't have access to it. So rather than open up and creating possibilities through collaboration, we're looking for creating everything just side by side. So and
that's not really getting us anywhere
if
we are not opening up and daring to be vulnerable, sharing our lack of knowledge and competence. And Astrid, when we spoke last, you actually said, how can we order what we do not know? Well, it says something about kind of protecting your own integrity, what you know, and exposing your insecurities. But how can we get there? Because we cannot think we will know everything in the future. We have such a turmoil around us when it comes to geopolitical situations. Things might change overnight. We need to adapt. No one's really rigged and ready for it, I'd say. So how can we get to that point where we actually move a little bit faster? Taking more risk, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, of course, the risk. And I think the Scandinavian and European countries, if we compare to other parts of the world, we don't use that much money on R&D. How can we invest, not just in our own companies, but outside as well, using capital, creating and building the small companies with innovative abilities, and creating cultures inside the company, make us as more able to change and to handle change, like you did today when we moved from Lectern to here in half an hour's notice. That's you need to be adaptable, you need to be able to change, and that's culture,
and have good partners,
of course. But I think it's a big part of it is that what I represent, the technological part of it, that we need to tell the market what's possible. Because nobody will, as you said, they won't order what they don't know exists. So we have to go and tell them about the possibilities, what haven't been done already, not just as references that has been delivered, but also what hasn't been done. Creating spaces where you can discuss the challenges and come up with crazy ideas, maybe something that would never be done, but just let the imagination take a little bit part in this, not just the big specification with 1,000 spec elements that you have to say yes to everything. Try to ask for the purpose, what you need to achieve, where do you want to be in 10 or 15 and 20 years, and creating a vision that you're working towards, rather than talking about what you already know and with what you like to change.
Oh, that's wise. Martin, in light of this, how do you actually approach your clients and how do you get through to them?
It's a good question. So it's the maritime industry is quite fragmented, right? But it's also dominated by some big players, but there's a long tail of smaller both suppliers, who's our main customers, and the ship owners side. So approaching suppliers through conferences and just cold call, hard work salesmen, to be honest, which requires some special skills and patience to be able to endure. I think one of the most important skill sets we have been leveraging over this 5-6 years journey now It's just the persistence and not giving up, because achieving change and changing ways of working just takes a long time. I remember the many very clever people in DNV, and one of them told me in the very inception of our journey that if you're going to build a platform, you have to account for a 7 years journey before you reach critical mass. All evidence suggests that's the time scale you're looking at. And I was laughing and said, yeah, sure, we'll beat that. And here we are 5-6 years later, and it's pretty much accurate.
So summing up, digitalization is not just everything done by itself, still requires hard work, you need to believe in it. So final question to you guys. Just your personal beliefs. How do we actually move forwards faster, closing the gap that we're kind of lagging behind? What can we do?
If I would start, I would say start by being honest with where you want to go. Start by being open to collaborate with other people that obviously know other things than you do, and accept that it's not always competition. Sometimes it's a win-win situation. You will both get better by actually collaborating rather than holding everything, the cards to your chest. So ask for it. Be brave.
Good. What about you, Martin? How do we get ahead?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Sometimes I feel the industry is just going at very high pace, and just and focusing on business, right? Business at hand, getting through the day and the week, and there's just probably not unique for Maritime, but I mean, business to me is sometimes getting away of innovation and process improvements. So I mean, this is me complaining about an industry not being able to raise or look ahead and dare to implement new ways of working. And I mean, in all fairness, they are actually now doing that. I think not only for us, but we see a change in digitalization all over. So I'm pretty hopeful for the future, but in the near-term future. But I think just daring to pause and breathe and see how are things done and how we can actually improve them.
Yeah.
And incremental steps.
Yeah, and just to add to his point, ask for help facilitating the process. Ask for help trying to help you prioritize your needs, finding the business value, and creating possibilities that actually will make you money and creating competitive powers, not just for innovation at itself. It's to create value. Easy as that, but get help getting there.
And when you need help, you know where to come. You can come to Ofiniti, Sopra, Steria, or DNV. More than happy to help you guys. Thank you so much for being here today, and that's the conclusion of our panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, An-Magritt.